Every single year, some 100 million animals of all kinds are killed in the U.S. alone for the alleged purpose of finding cures for human diseases and for the testing of pharmaceutical drugs, pesticides, and all types of chemical substances. These animals are used by universities, hospitals, research institutions, chemical, pharmaceutical, petroleum, cosmetics, and tobacco companies, and also by NASA and the military. The evidence gathered in this film will prove that animal research is not only a self-evident crime against animals, but also a crime against humanity. Most people believe that only rats and mice are used in research. The fact is that countless other species, including dogs, cats, monkeys, apes, horses, farm animals, rabbits, turtles, frogs, and also birds of all kinds, are routinely used in biomedical research and testing. Where do these animals come from? One of the main sources of laboratory animals is the multi-billion-dollar purpose-bred animal industry. More than 1,600 animal breeders in the U.S. offer tens of millions of animals from mice and rats to primates. These are animals who are bred to be used exclusively as laboratory tools. In many instances, animals are bred with built-in diseases and offered to customers with surgical modifications. This simply means that some animals have undergone as many as 17 operations by the time they are sold to a research facility. Zoos constitute another source of laboratory animals, especially primates. Some zoos breed animals just for biomedical research. Other zoos routinely sell older and no longer desirable primates to vivisection laboratories as soon as their displays cease to attract the large crowds needed to maintain the large profits. Animal shelters are also involved. Most people are totally unaware of the fact that many of the dogs and cats used in research come from our very own public pounds and animal shelters. Incredibly, these tax-supported facilities not only release people's pets to laboratories, but they also subsidize research by selling them at extremely low prices. This shameful practice, known as pound seizure, is perfectly legal in most states in the U.S. Another source of laboratory animals is right in your own backyard. An estimated 3 million family pets are stolen every year in the U.S. from people's own homes, from cars, and as a result of free-to-a-good-home ads in newspapers. These companion animals are stolen by unscrupulous individuals known as bunchers, who then sell them to Class B dealers. Incredibly, these so-called Class B dealers are licensed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. These unfortunate animals are then sold to pet stores, puppy mills, dog fighting rings, and satanic cults. But this black market in stolen pets would not be thriving without its most valued and reliable customer, the wealthy medical research industry, which is always eager to pay top dollar in order to obtain one of the most desirable laboratory subjects, docile, trusting family pets. No questions asked.
We have some counts of grand theft dog for sales to medical research or commercial use. We have petty theft dog. We have conspiracy to defraud another person and conspiracy to commit a crime. They were fraudulently obtaining these animals from people for sales to medical research. District Attorney's Office alleges that they have information that they would go to people and tell them that they were going to provide a good home for their animals. The people would willingly give them their animals, only to find out later these animals had been taken to the facility, and some had indeed been sold to research facilities.
Over the last 100 years, the powerful biomedical industry and its allies have managed to convince not only the masses, but also the most intelligent among us, that animal research is an indispensable part of biomedical research. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Animal research is based on a false premise, and therefore its practice constitutes medical and scientific fraud. The massive, irrefutable body of evidence which demonstrates the invalidity of animal research has been compiled by Swiss author and medical historian Hans Rüsch in his breakthrough books Slaughter of the Innocent, Naked Empress, and 1,000 Doctors Against Vivisection.
You can always find an animal where you can prove or disprove anything you want. The basis of all this is fraud in order to get to those enormous amounts of research money, which especially the American government put at the researchers' disposal.
Increasing numbers of doctors and scientists agree that human medicine cannot be based on veterinary medicine. They further agree that far from being a lifesaver, animal research is useless and in fact dangerously misleading and counterproductive. Dr. Christopher Anderegg, who obtained his MD from Yale University School of Medicine and his PhD in biology from Yale Graduate School, is a former animal experimenter.
There are many reasons why animal experimentation is an unscientific, invalid, dangerous, counterproductive, but above all, fraudulent method. The main reason for me as a doctor and a biologist is a very simple one, not just based on science or medicine, but based on pure and simple common sense and logic. Animals are physiologically, anatomically, biochemically, histologically, among so many countless other reasons, totally incomparable to human beings.
The medical and scientific fraudulence of animal research can be easily demonstrated with three clear facts. Number one, every species of animal is a different biomechanical and biochemical entity. Non-human animals are different not only from humans, but also from each other, anatomically, physiologically, immunologically, genetically, and histologically, down to the basic cellular structure. And yet, the animal experimenters try to justify the use of animals by claiming that animals are similar enough to human beings to warrant experimenting on them. The fact is that in the world of true science, the word similar is totally meaningless. If you were told that in the room next door there is no oxygen, but rather a gas very similar to oxygen, would you go in? If you needed a blood transfusion but were told that there is no human blood available but only a substance very similar to human blood, such as chimpanzee blood, would you go for it? If I told you that my lotto numbers are very similar to the winning numbers, would you congratulate me? But there are drastic differences, not only between non-human animals and humans, but also within the human species itself. In an article entitled, "What's Healthy for Him Could Be Harmful to You," Dr. Celeste Robb Nicholson, editor-in-chief of Harvard Women's Health Watch newsletter, writes the following, quote, "Today, we physicians recognize that not only heart disease, but also a host of other medical conditions affect women differently than men." End quote. Dr. Robb Nicholson goes on to say, quote, "If women's bodies responded to medications the way men's do, then we could feel confident taking drugs tested only on men. And if men and women faced identical risks, then we could safely undergo surgical procedures proven effective only on men." It is ironic that a biomedical research establishment, which recognizes that research on men is so often irrelevant and even harmful to women, would still cling to the belief that research on non-human animals is relevant to humans. The second fact that demonstrates the invalidity of animal research is that animals react differently to different drugs, vaccines, and chemical substances, not only from humans, but also from each other. For example, Dr. Bruce Ames of the University of California at Berkeley reports, quote, "Of 392 chemicals in our database tested in both rats and mice, 226 were carcinogens in at least one test, but 96 of these were positive in the mouse and negative in the rat, or vice versa." End quote. This simply means that for all practical purposes, there is a 50-50 chance that a chemical which causes cancer in mice would also cause cancer in rats. This amounts to the flip of a coin. Since there is no correlation between the rat and the mouse, two such closely related animals, how can there possibly be any correlation between the rat and the dog, or the dog and the cat, let alone any correlation between any of these animals and the human animal? In spite of the fact that animals react differently to different substances from humans, it is estimated that in the U.S. alone, some 20 million animals are used every year just to test pharmaceutical drugs, cosmetics, household products of all kinds, and substances used in industry and agriculture such as pesticides. The LD50, or lethal dose 50%, we are seeing here, is an acute toxicity test in which a number of animals are given different amounts of a substance to determine what dose will kill 50% of them over a predetermined period of time. The test is allegedly used to give a rough indication of the toxicity of a substance or drug in humans. The force feeding of huge quantities of substances, which can include bleach, oven cleaners, and toothpaste, may cause the animal's stomach to rupture or may kill the animal through the physical damage to its system. This has nothing to do with the actual toxicity of the substance, and it does not relate to any real-life situation where human beings are exposed to small quantities of a substance through normal use. But it is not only a matter of overdosing. Interspecies variation, meaning the varying pharmacokinetic properties of different species in response to various chemical substances, is the main reason why toxicological data cannot be extrapolated from one species of animal to another, let alone to human beings. Since the LD50 is not only worthless but dangerously misleading, the inescapable conclusion is that every time you take a drug tested on animals, you are the real guinea pig. The use of the rabbit's eye to test not only cosmetics but detergents, pesticides, and any substance which may be hazardous to human eyes is routine. This is known as the Drey's test, and it has been used since 1945. The rabbit's cornea is particularly sensitive. It is only 0.36 millimeters thick, compared with 0.51 millimeters for humans. Furthermore, the rabbit's eye does not have effective tear glands, which prevent the eye from dissolving the irritating substance. Rabbits are also used in acute skin irritancy and toxicity tests. It is common knowledge in industry circles that these tests are conducted for legal reasons and not for scientific reasons, so manufacturers can claim to have adhered to safety tests when confronted with lawsuits. Concerned individuals should stop buying animal-tested products and seek out the increasing numbers of fine cosmetics and personal care items not tested on animals. Likewise, non-animal tested household cleaning products of all sorts can be found at local health food and other specialty stores. These products are also becoming available at increasing numbers of major supermarkets due to public demand. The destruction of our environment as a direct result of the alibi provided by animal testing is massive and systematic. Currently in use are as many as 40,000 different types of pesticides, found safe and approved by U.S. regulatory agencies based on all sorts of contradictory and invalid animal tests. Predictably, the 800 million pounds of synthetic pesticides sprayed on U.S. crops each year, along with hundreds of billions of pounds of animal-tested toxicants released by industry into our environment, end up poisoning our air, water, and land, including our food supplies. Even substances such as gasoline, motor oil, and transmission and brake fluids are tested on live animals. Each year, thousands of animals are forced to chain smoke cigarettes to prove that tobacco is harmful, or that it is not, depending on who is funding the experiment. Animals are also forced to drink alcohol, allegedly to study human alcoholism, as if we didn't already have millions of cases of human alcoholics. Tragically, while there is little or no money available to rehabilitate drug addicts and turn them into productive citizens, there seems to be plenty of money available to fund absurd and useless experiments where perfectly healthy animals are forced to become drug addicts.
This is Cecile, an 8-year-old monkey who is dependent on cocaine. Cecile is part of a federal research project testing the long-term effects of cocaine. To get the drug, she must push the levers in her cage in a complicated pattern. Like other animals in the program, Cecile has lost interest in almost everything over the years, but getting her cocaine.
They will choose cocaine over food. They will even starve to death. They would rather take cocaine than eat.
Researchers know far more about animals and cocaine